Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is October 11th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery here. You can see that system moving through northern Canada spread that weak cold front across Pacific Northwest. It did drop 100th of an inch of rain at SeaTac last night. And you can see that cold front kind of sagging down across northern California, but mainly just a wind shift across the area. And we're going to rebuild this ridge as we start going through this week and towards later this week and bring the potential for some fog through southwest BC, western Washington, western Oregon mainly here. We'll take a look at that coming up, but we are going to warm up across much of the Pacific Northwest as we go into this weekend. We'll take a look at some of those stats here in a moment. You can see the cutoff low continues to exist out here. Looks like it's getting caught up a little bit here in the westerlies, but not much impact here for the Pacific Northwest other than helping to build a ridge over the area. Taking a look here at the visible satellite imagery, you can see the low clouds across western Oregon, southwest Washington here, and look at this. Already the Bullet Creek fire is starting to sneak its smoke back down towards the Puget Sound here. So we're not going to get much of a break here from this forest fire smoke, but right now the air quality is good, so take advantage of it while you can. You can see this forest fire smoke draining into eastern Washington as well, even though we did stir up the atmosphere with some of these winds here through last night and this morning. You can kind of see the remnants of that cold front sagging south across the area here. Taking a look at SeaTac yesterday, you can see it triggered that 100th of an inch at about 10:30 last night. You can see the ceilings drop down, broken 500. But then it quickly started to rise back up again, and just a few more reports of some trace precipitation as we went through the late night and early morning hours, but just barely got that. I didn't trigger my rain bucket here, even though I did see a few raindrops falling on my Nest cameras. You can see here, this is October 9th. Look at this unhealthy air conditions we were dealing with here through yesterday morning, really, and then we really started to improve during the day yesterday. And look at overnight, it's just some really clean air right now around the area, but it is slowly getting a bit worse. It might not be from forest fire smoke, though. It might just be because the traffic kicking up some of the pollutants around the area this morning. Now you can see here, let's go ahead and scroll into what I want to show you here is what's coming up later this week. As we go on in through, let's take a look at Thursday morning here. Look at this pretty good cloud coverage here for fog along the Oregon coast and the Puget Sound, maybe the Washington coast a bit here. And the same thing really as we go on into Friday morning. You see that returning across the area here. And that's because we're going to be under an inversion here, and we're going to cool off pretty well, and we're going to have some decent moisture values around a lot of the Puget Sound here during the morning hours. So we do have the potential for fog. You can see the Willamette Valley really not showing that up for Thursday and Friday morning, but you see Washington, Oregon coast will get in on that action too. Straight to Fuke up towards southwest British Columbia as well. Look at Seattle yesterday, 69, a little bit above average, and we did trigger that rain gauge there. We're not going to get towards the record high today. I'm kind of wondering about this one though. They're 72 back in 2006. That might be some low-hanging fruit there on the, if you're like setting all-time record highs. We'll have to watch that in a couple of days. And this weekend we have an outside chance of an 80-degree day also. This 80-degree day back in October of 1961 here on October 14th at 80 is the latest 80-degree day we've ever reported here at SeaTac, and we have a chance to hit one on the 15th or 16th, I believe it is. We might get up to the upper 70s towards the 80-degree mark. That would be the latest 80-degree day ever at SeaTac. Now taking a look at Portland, cooled down to 77 yesterday, still 10 degrees above average, and we're going to start to warm back up again down there through the Portland area here. It looked like the Euro was calling only for the low 70s. Might get mid 70s today. We'll have to see how that goes. Checking out Glasgow, Montana, you can see strong winds today out there through Montana. That cold front kind of sweeping down through the area out there. If you go a little bit further east towards the Dakotas, there's some high wind warnings even in effect out there. Medford, Oregon, you guys know what to do by this time. We've been dealing with the smoke for so long, but you can see the Cedar Creek fire really giving them a hard time down there. So you can see the air quality alerts in effect as well, just outside of Medford currently, actually. Now you can see here off into Idaho. Look at this. We got a frost and freeze warning out there just northeast of Twin Falls out there towards Rigby, Idaho Falls area out there. So yeah, we did get some cold air from that system kind of moved down through the area there. So you can see it reflected here in some of these temperatures overnight into Wednesday morning here for Idaho. And now looking here, so this is what's going on with the winds. This is 100-meter wind speeds. You can see as of last night, we had some pretty good onshore flow coming across the area here, but watch this. We really lighten these winds up as we go through the day today. And by tomorrow morning, look at this. We got some offshore flow showing up again, at least in the morning hours. So the smoke is going to drain down from some of these fires into the Puget Sound and into the Willamette Valley from the Cedar Creek fire as well. Diurnal heating will kick a bit of a northwest component, so it'll move that air around a bit, but I don't know if that's going to clean us out very well through the Puget Sound. We'll have to see how that goes. Going into Thursday morning, same thing again, a little bit of easterly flow as this air sinks down as the atmosphere cools overnight into Thursday morning here. Now Friday, same thing. Thursday afternoon there. Friday morning, same thing with a little bit of an offshore component here as well. So it looks like we might be going through another period of degraded air quality coming up here, folks. So sorry to be the bearer of bad news there, but is what it is. So we have the European on the left, GFS on the right, yesterday afternoon's runs showing that system moving through. Both models showing the ridge building here coming up through later this week and on into this weekend. It starts to get reinforced here a bit, as you see. Still that ridging going on through Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, both models in agreement. System trying to encroach from the west here on the night of the 15th. As we go on into Sunday, you can see it get a little bit closer, and this ridge pushes off to the east a bit, but this would be a fairly weak system at this point here. You can see the GFS diving that energy down towards California a bit here as the ridge maintains over Montana. European not far off with some ridging inland here, but look at how fast the European rebuilds this ridging here as we go on in through next week. The European showing something similar too, the ridging extending out over the Pacific Ocean here. Then a system tries to dive down through British Columbia. Some model agreement there, as you can see that trough cutting down through British Columbia here, but then again, the ridge starts to rebuild a little bit on the GFS, but we do have some more activity going on through, especially across the Gulf of Alaska here. And GFS starts to develop a system here through Southeast Alaska that may come down and impact us. Stay with me here. We're going to look at the ensemble extended run here in a moment and see what that shows. Here's the Canadian on the left, European on the right. As we go through, you can see the ridge rebuild, and then there's that redevelopment even through this weekend here on both the Canadian here on the left and the European here on the right. The system trying to swing in here a bit. You can see it gets a little bit closer here on the Canadian versus the European for sure, as the European says, hey, no, we're going to start to rebuild even another ridge as we go through the 18th or so here. Kind of a weak system sliding by here on the Canadian, though, through early the following week. But that is going to change almost certainly. You can see the trough off the coast here. It's a little bit of a trough here showing up also on the European. But that would be quite a weak system here. Not the big precipitation maker we would need. But there is some hope through the extended here. Check out the European ensemble mean. This was yesterday afternoons. Here we go with the ridge. Very high confidence in this ridge coming for later next week in towards this weekend as it even redevelops a bit here. Then maybe that weak system, you can see a little bit of a troughing here off the coastline, but then we rebuild the ridge again, potentially on through the mid-following week, but it is not quite as established over the west coast of North America here. Trough tries to move through northern British Columbia here, but that kind of opens the door as this ridge retrogrades, and we really bring the potential for a much more active pattern here as we go through the extended. This would be the following weekend, so this is still, October 22nd. We're still talking 10 plus days, 11, 12 days out here, but pretty good signal here on the extended run here for the European ensemble, which, if you want to get back to normal here in the Pacific Northwest, put out these fires, this is a pleasant thing to see. And you can see it kind of hangs out there for a while. So we'll have to see how this trends over the next few days. Ensemble runs have been kind of showing this pattern change coming about this time here around the 22nd, 23rd of October. Taking a look at the GFS, you can see ridging. This is 200 millibars here, British Columbia, Washington, Oregon. This is about 34,000 feet. Actually, this is 39,000 feet, 200 millibars. Look at this ridge aloft over the area here. Continues on through this weekend, rebuilds a bit here. This one tries to dive down, but it's not that strong, but there is a little bit of a trough there you can see that we've been watching there. Now that ridge redevelops briefly the following week, but then you can see this jet over the Pacific really start to become active and move towards the west coast of North America. This will start to possibly introduce that pattern change also, so that GFS is showing in the 22nd, 23rd time frame here of October. As you can see, the troughing really start to increase over the Gulf of Alaska. Are the models onto something here, or is this just more false hope? We'll have to just wait and see. This is a little too far out to get too excited about just yet, but it is something, and it is that time of year when these changes usually happen. Now, checking out the GFS here, I wanted to show next week. This is Thursday morning 15Z. You can see the ridge plainly overhead here as we go on into Friday morning here. Same thing, ridge still in charge across Pacific Northwest. Now this is looking at Saturday morning here. So basically Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we're going to have this inversion going on across the Pacific Northwest. Look at these temperatures at 700 millibars, 850 millibars, 10,000, 5,000 feet. Very warm temperatures aloft, but you can see how they cool down as you get towards the surface in the morning hours. And check out this 48-degree dew point. That's pretty good moisture values down there. That's not going to be tough to form some fog, especially across the Puget Sound. Very light northerly winds showing up here. We're going to back up to... This is Friday morning right here, and you can see the same thing exists. A little circle down there means calm winds. Pretty good inversion here. If we get trapped that moisture, we could really end up foggier than we expect right now, and that could impact high temperatures here as we go through later this week. We'll continue to watch that because there's definitely going to be some fog around the Puget Sound, southwest BC. I don't know how much that will extend out towards the Willamette Valley, but we can go ahead and take a look here briefly. Let's check out towards just south of Portland here Thursday morning. Not quite as much moisture, but still that strong inversion and light winds could mean some fog as well down towards the Willamette Valley. Now looking at Medford, you can see here some pretty warm temperatures coming up here as long as the forest fire smoke doesn't get too dense and knock down these highs a bit here, or some fog forms. But then you can see potential for that troughing moving towards the west coast. A very weak trough though on the models right now. And here's Seattle, Tacoma. You can see, I wonder, we might get a little bit warmer than this, especially tomorrow, but we'll see how that goes. But then look at this, some very nice weather coming up Thursday, Friday, Saturday, as long as we don't get fogged in too badly. And look at Sunday there. I mean, remember, the latest we've ever gotten to 80 here at SeaTac was October 14th. And if we get it on the 16th, that would be the latest 80 degree ever here for SeaTac. And you can see the European deterministic here is calling for an 80-degree day on Sunday before we potentially cool back down after that. Portland, some nice warm days coming up here as well. The weekend looks pretty good. Some pretty nice weather coming for Portland as long as the forest fire smoke doesn't get too bad here. This is Missoula, way off to the west here. You can see the potential for that pattern change as we go way off towards October 22nd and beyond here. Look at some of these chilly temperatures here as cold air would overspread the region. I would be welcome and down for this. So we'll continue to watch that 10-plus day period out there, and hopefully that continues to trend. Here's Boise, just kind of showing the same thing well off into the extended, but some very nice days in the meantime as long as forest fire smoke doesn't interfere with the sunshine out there. Now, here's looking at Seattle, Tacoma here. This is the European. This goes all the way out to October 25th here. And you can see the big signal out here for this pattern change. It does exist here. So, I mean, it's showing. You can see these are 24-hour rainfall totals here. And this would be over an inch in a 24-hour period here on the control. The mean saying less, but definitely showing some precipitation coming, generally starting about the 21st or later. We'll continue to watch that, of course. Here's GFS, Seattle, Tacoma. You can see by the getting towards the end of October here, it looks like we good agreement. We might pick up a couple inches. Some ensembles are higher, some are much lower here, but you can see the pattern change about the 22nd of October kind of showing up with the GFS there also. Stevens Pass, big signal for a pattern change here coming up after the 22nd. Fingers crossed. Crater Lake, Klamath Falls. Of course, the further you go south, the tougher it is, especially this time of year, to get meaningful precipitation down there, but not bad precipitation values showing up on the 23rd and the 25th here. Look at Boise, similar thing. As you get off further to the east and south here, it's going to be tougher to bring precipitation down there, but still some pretty good totals showing up there potentially in some of these systems. But again, we are way out there. I'm just kind of giving people some hope here for the precipitation coming up through the extended. Here's Missoula, Montana, kind of showing that same signal for the pattern change as we go on in through mid and later October. 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. This goes to the 24th. Above average temperatures should rule this period here, but you'll notice they've kind of left the precipitation alone here for this period. They're kind of picking up on that signal here for that potential change after the 22nd of October here. And look at this, monsoon season still going on through the Southwest. That's got to be unheard of around, I don't know. Honestly, I haven't studied the monsoon too much, but this is definitely getting late into the season here. You can see Alaska with that above average signal there as well. Now, looking at average max temperature departure from average here. You can see the warm west here, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, all the way off towards Wyoming. This would go for BC too here for the 2-month period, August 12th through October 10th here. Just a very warm signal here. And the below average down here through the southwest because of the monsoon, but everywhere else really above average here across the west. Percent average of precipitation, just miserable signal we've had here. Look at some of these areas are less than 2% for western Washington, some of the Cascades down through Oregon, less than 25% for most areas here. So pretty, this is pretty dry here across the Pacific Northwest. You can see California did get above average, but it still has not been a lot of precipitation for California either. Now look at this. So this was brought out on October 6th, but we are now in a moderate drought here through most of western Washington, and does extend towards northwest Oregon here, but it's a short-term drought, and it's going to go away once we turn the jet stream and the rain back on here. But it's very interesting, that my yard is really dry. I know that, and I'm sure others probably feel the same, but very interesting here that we are now in a moderate drought here in western Washington. So yeah, more nice weather is coming up as long as we can avoid the forest fire smoke. But as you saw, it's already starting to drift back down off to the east here. And we're probably going to be swirling it around the Puget Sound, Willamette Valley, southwest BC, and really around the entire area here for the next few days. Some light winds coming up here, warm temperatures across much of the area. We'll watch for that fog formation as we go on in through mid and later this week and see how extensive that fog cover is going to be. And really, the thing I'm paying attention to big time here is that precipitation chance as we go through the extended here. Looks like the pattern is going to change according to the models as of right now. But again, you know how that can change, and there's no guarantees when you're looking out 10 plus days. So anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. Thanks to all my new members that are signing up. You guys make the channel possible. Everybody who watches every day makes this channel possible. Appreciate you all, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.